Let me go and tag you on it.
Okay, and then what do I do after that?
Nothing. Just sit
Okay,
tight. We'll wait for people to come in.
sit
Since we're
tight,
Zoom,
wait
we're
people for
using
Zoom.
Zoom.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up the comments on my phone. If you have a handheld device, you can go to my page and just mute the phone and click it like you're going to watch it, and you can see the comments.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I muted the thing, turned all the noisemakers off, and go to your page. Yeah, at
Mm-hmm.
some point, when you have some time,
Mm-hmm.
well, it hasn't come up yet, but oh, wait a minute, I'm on your page. Let me go to your page.
It's there. I
Okay,
just
here I am. Let it
hang on.
play. Yeah, at some point, when you have some.
Yeah,
Okay, hold on. Well, it hasn't come it's up yet. Double.
yeah. You got to turn the phone off. Turn the volume off on your phone. Mute it.
Okay, I turned it all the way down. I just did.
There you go. Okay, so we can see the comments on my Facebook page. Hello,
Yeah, I'm
Catherine.
seeing it,
Yeah, you see it?
which is distractive somehow.
What?
Um, I'm getting the closed captions. How do I turn the closed captions off? Because that's distracting. I
I
don't know
don't
if we're
know.
live or not. Oh, we're live?
Yeah, we're live. There's 11 people on that page, and there's a few on the other pages.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to turn that off and just stick to what I'm doing. So, hi, everybody. Nice to be here. And hi, Todd.
Hey,
This
what's
is
happening, Auriana?
a lot. A lot is happening, a lot of shifting, a lot of changing, a lot of things that I'm now doing. Really getting ready to launch,
What are you going to launch?
emerge.
You're going to emerge.
Yes, it's time.
So, okay, so you came on last year. I think it was last year, and
April 5th, 11 months, almost 12 months since the
almost
last
12
time.
months. And since then, you left Washington, D.C., where you lived on the 22nd floor, because you sent me that picture and told me that story. And you traveled, you came through Arkansas. I think you went to Sedona, you went some other places. Then you end up in South Dakota for 7 months, right?
Yes, yes.
And so, and you've been, just because of the corona and then just otherwise working on yourself. I mean, this is the real deal. This is what happens. What have you been doing for 7 months? What have you been going through? And what's happening now?
Well, what I've been going through is actually a heck of a lot. I left August 4th. I left DC. I was done with it. I was complete. Everything that would truly keep me there was done. So I didn't really need that anymore. At some point, I got to go back and sell the place. But so I left. I went on the road and followed my heart. Went with my heart. Um, did a lot of traveling, a lot of seeing things, a lot of growing, exploring. Um, and every time also, where do I want to live next? And there's only one place on the East Coast I would say I would want to go back to, but just to visit. And then I went across. I went by Arkansas to visit some new friends I met in Savannah, and then see you at the other end of Arkansas. And then I crossed Oklahoma, Texas, down into New Mexico, White Sands, Las Cruces. I've done the northern parts before, but never the southern parts. So I decided to do that and went to all sorts of cool places. And then into Arizona because, yeah, we were all going to meet in Arizona. We had said we were going to do that. And I wanted to go to Sedona and everywhere anyway. So I did that. Went into Arizona from the south, then spent with a whole bunch of us the last 2 weeks of September in Sedona, and then up toward the Grand Canyon, off into Colorado, the Four Corners area, through Colorado, Wyoming, and I wound up in South Dakota.
Wow.
And it was
Why
wonderful,
South?
guided,
Why South Dakota? Were you led there? Were you guided there?
guided. I would say guided. I would say guided, and wound up. I've spent the winter here. I have spent the last multiple months here. It is a very nice area, really cool. I'm
Nice and sunny all the time, isn't
Not always. It was just
it?
snowing. We just had snow.
Yeah,
We
no, it snows a lot up there, doesn't it?
well, this year hasn't snowed so much.
Mm.
And
I
it's
guess
been
North Dakota. North Dakota would be.
North Dakota, Montana, Western Wyoming, it snows a lot. Yellowstone is still frozen solid.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'm about an hour east of Badlands and about an hour and a half from very poorly named Devil's Tower, right down the road from Rushmore, Sturgis, all about half hour away.
Hmm.
Real nice area. It's really nice. But what am I doing here? What have I been doing? Hibernating. My version
Lo-
of hibernating, exploring, expanding, exploring the inner self, exploring, expanding, growing, preparing what do I want to do. And of course, yes, in truth, it is winter. And places that I've wanted to go see were winter set in, frozen. And that's not a good time to go. Why drive in ice and snow? Separate that I don't really care for ice and snow. So that's what
So
I decided to
what?
do. So
So what was your? Ask about the energy of Devil's Tower. What was that like?
this whole area has so many energies. Um, Devil's Tower is a positive. What I am getting from Devil's Tower, very poorly named. A lot of things are inverted in their names, in their perceptions. I've noticed that a lot. Devil's Tower, there's some who say it's an old, ancient, petrified tree stump. I see it's something else. Uh, Not really sure if it is time to speak of it, but I've noticed this in other places too. There are places like this across the planet, and that's all I'll say.
Hmm.
Uh, for me, it's always been if in doubt, say less on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a certain world where certain things happen, and shall we say those who know, and those who don't, not yet, or
So
I don't
give
know.
us an example. Did you have one of those things happen at Devil's Tower?
I wonder, well, what I did see at Devil's Tower is a lot of stone people.
Yeah.
I call them stone people. There are beings, a lot of turtles. I saw it in a lot of places. They are emerging. I see it at Badlands. It is the ancients, it's the ancient wisdom. It's history before history. There was a lot also in the Four Corners area, this whole Rockies area. And
Rock
I,
beans. The rock beans.
pardon me? The rock
Rock?
beings,
You're a rock
yes.
beans.
I call them stone people, but
Yeah.
that's summarize something because they're beings of many kinds, many animals, many energies.
Hmm.
They're spirits, they're beings locked in stone, trapped
Hmm.
from
They're
the
trapped.
past.
Yeah.
Many are trapped. Many are repositories of wisdom of history. This is history before history. At this
Yeah.
point now in the energetic field, they're coming home. They're
Yeah.
coming back. Many still interpret it and give it some form of polarity. It isn't.
No.
There's a lot of, we started to talk about it on the last show, about what things are and what things are not. And it is a recurring theme. There's a lot of things assigned negative polarity, assigned names, interpretations of, distortions, inversions, and a lot in many, many, many different forms. So the stone people themselves. Stone people are beings. They're ancient. They are huge. They're giant. They're spirits. They're essences. They are coming up. They want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be free. Their vibration also, they hold the wisdom. There are wisdom repositories on this planet. Crystals, this has been spoken of. Stone. Other places that are literally the repositories. See, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That means you want to have them in multiple places. Like in the earth plane, you don't want your eggs in one basket. They're also repositories of history, and if we just look at it from the more conventional stream, if you have a library of paper, paper deteriorates, stone does not.
Hmm.
There are a lot of things also on places like the pyramids, the temples of Egypt, um, many ancient places, ancient sites that are carvings in the wall. They also carry energies. It's wrapped within themselves. When you're able to access them, at this point they're energetic, they will talk to you if you have the right vibe. There are many pieces to this. It's been hidden, they have been hidden. But also many things happened on this planet which left things as they are. history before history. I drove through certain areas where I could tell ruins, echoes of separate civilizations. I don't mean the Anasazi, the cave dwellers. That's known, that's recent history, time before time. I mean different eras on this planet, where the only thing that is left is perhaps a ruin or two, weathered by time, destroyed in some war here, there, or everywhere. Their spirits trapped in stone. Something that I picked up a very long time ago, years ago. I was watching some program on television, and they talked about the stones, the energies, and I could see beings locked in time, a weapon used to trap beings, slow time to such a degree that to us they look like rocks.
Yeah.
They're actually trapped and locked. It is also time for us to unlock them. A lot of freeing is taking place on this planet at many levels. This is also the center point, the birthing point, as was just spoken of. It is a repository of wisdom of history in more ways than we can imagine. Our DNA, we hear Franco and others talk about multiple components to make this version of human. Why do we think that is? Because it's energetic. It connects to outer patterns, out to the beyond, out to those histories, at physicality, at some version of physicality, at energetic, at soul, at spirit, at the collective of those. It is a mix of everything in many levels. That means everything ultimately is about energies, frequencies, vibrations, and patterns, and everything connects to everything else. That means we, humans, within us, plenty of individual physical bodies to give you that fractalization that we hear about at the larger levels, but if you look at it from this perspective too, we see it in this context. Each one an individual fractal, a slight variant on the complement of all those contributions, that positive, agreed upon, intentional, by very high collective levels, source level or close to it, have decided to create a new universe, a new world, which brings together a mix in one whole as representation, as compilation and complements of a lot out there of many different kinds, varieties, and separate streams that have existed for eons in different forms. You bring them together into one body, into one place, into one area. The seeding on this world, there is creation, there is evolution, which is adaptation to the local environment as it evolves. And there is what is often called panspermia, where it is brought from outside and then it adapts. It is a mix of it all, in every being, species, and everything on this planet, at physical and energetic.
I
It is
think there
what
was a lot of that last one. What did you call it? Parapapak? What was it?
panspermia.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of
Transpermia,
that.
panspermia. It's whatever it comes on from the outside. It
Yeah.
can happen as a natural form on some
Or it can
aspect
happen
and
with our
something
other
byproduct.
aspects, dropping other aspects of us off here.
Oh, absolutely. There is a lot. There's the intentionally done, and then there's the natural.
Wow.
It is,
Let me absorb everything you just said, which was
which
very,
is a
very,
little piece of the
it was
whole.
voluminous and it was beautiful and it's
Thank
beautiful
you.
to see you in this state. And I know 7 months in South Dakota, you've been walking the talk, you're doing the work, you can tell you're glowing. But going back to what you're saying, I love this because like the rock, the stone people, I just look at them and see them as, like nature beings, really.
Mhm.
But I've always been able to communicate with them, and they're very powerful and they're very deep. And I love what you said about how they're storing information and wisdom, just like we talk about crystals. The crystals have naturally do that, and then also have been infused with with intention. But and you said that, and it makes sense that they're just moving very, very slow, right? We're moving a little faster, or other aspects are moving a little faster. And what caught my eye about it was, I've kind of been feeling like our other aspects that have been at the higher frequency, and I know it may not be happening, but actually to me feels like that's slowing down, or I'm speeding up, but it feels like it's more like slowing down. So when you said that, I thought, wow, I wonder if that's what it is. We're all going to go to the same frequency, not just humans, not just the stone people. I mean, everybody, right?
We have been conditioned, told, not all by intent. Some just it wasn't known. You don't know what you don't know, and then you assume. The stone, let's say, I kind of lost the train of thought.
I'm sorry.
So speeding up, slowing down.
Yeah.
It was just mentioned in the past show about patience, and I
Mm.
wrote a comment there. Part of it is patience, but part of it is also that when we souls, spirits, beings who are naturally on an infinite, unlimited, and fast and faster, we find ourselves in a very narrow, limited world where everything is so slow.
Mm.
And we are like, why is it so slow?
Mm.
It is an organic issue of adapting to the environment in which we're in. It is a lesson, it is something for us to practice, to learn a different way, a very positive way. But it is not just the human level, oh, you're so impatient.
No, I did. You see in the last show with Franco, I asked him that question. I said, okay, so I want to hear your opinion. I said, so is it the human that's impatient, or is it the galactic that's in the human who's used to moving a lot faster that's impatient?
Well, it is it is us. It is us who it is our galactic aspect, but it is actually us. And it is us who want to move things along. See, we all, those like you, me, Franco, whatever level or degree they are, and I wonder how this operates in animals and plants, how they perceive time, because time itself is very much an artifact of it's relative. It
Mm-hmm.
actually is.
Mm-hmm.
We are quantum beings, that's all we know. I spoke a little bit about creating a new universe, a new way from right here. A part of it, our job, is to harmonize the design concept, the linear sequential. I'm not talking about the limitations of human, I'm talking about the physical universe itself.
Right.
Running on, to summarize and make it short and understandable, Newtonian physics and relativistic physics. So what Newton, what Einstein brought in, and the associated constructs that are dependent on a timeline and not on time.
Mm-hmm. A
Time clock,
sequence.
schedules, that is all a distortion of the
Yeah.
human,
You're talking
part
about
of a control
like
program.
sequence. Yeah. Yeah.
So when we have a timeline and we're entering the quantum, we are merging, integrating, and harmonizing this entire stack from us within, sitting right here. It is kind of hard. It is difficult. Most of us are not quite connecting to what exactly we're doing and the why it is so difficult, so we assign it subhuman something or other. But when I spoke about we're creating an entirely new universe, and I just began getting connection, greater insight into this creative aspect of us and what Gaia now is. It has gotten diverted, distorted, and a lot of other things. But what we're doing is see, all the D's, if you look at it as an hourglass, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the tenth, the ninth, the all the way up 11th, 12th, 15th, 22nd, whatever D, 17th, whatever they are. And it's equivalent on the lower side of the hourglass, which you could call the shamanic realms, etc. But it comes together as a torus anyway. It's a different form of it. There's a lot of techie
And
stuff on
were
that.
you? Can I
So what
just?
we're
Can
doing,
I just? Can I just ask you a question?
yes, go
I'm
ahead.
saying this with total reverence, total love,
Sure.
respect, honor. Were you like a professor at Georgetown University? I mean, you were not just like comprehensive, but you were able to blurt this out like you rehearsed it your entire life. I mean, you are on this stuff. Have you been researching this stuff for years? Because you've gone deep, or is it all okay?
You've
You're all
gone.
tapping. Do you
I'm
have
tapping into the cosmic libraries, you know
right
what
on,
I was to call
right on,
it. I am,
right on?
uh, I don't see the etheric libraries as the Akash alone. The Akash is actually a little tiny one. That's
The
the
Akash
library
is like
off to the side. The
yeah, yeah.
record and the history of souls.
Say that again. Say it again.
So to me, the universal, grand universal libraries of out there,
Uh,
where all knowledge, experience, everything is accumulated,
yeah.
is not just the Akash. The Akash is a little one, in my view, off to the side,
It's like
which contains.
localized. Is it like localized to Earth? Is that what you're saying?
No, no, it is
No,
not.
it's not.
It is
It's
a section in the library, perhaps. It is the
okay.
chapter of this world, current
And it
world.
just
It
keeps
is all that.
going.
The Akash is the record and the history of souls, period.
Okay.
And
Okay.
actually, no, it's not confined to Earth because the souls have their soul journey, their history.
Right.
They streamed wherever they have gone. It's different for all. Some have been here a long time,
Man,
or
you're great to
some
have on
have
the show. I
not.
can ask all kinds of questions that everybody
Yeah,
wants to know. Okay,
really,
so
that's
let me ask you a question.
yeah. Go ahead.
Do you is there a part of you, and how big is it, I don't know, on a percentage basis or what? Is there a part of you that is tapped into the galactic aspect or aspects of you? And is it mission oriented? Do you feel like a mission oriented galactic influence at all? I'm just curious.
I am tapped in all the time, which makes living human very difficult. Very
No
difficult.
shit.
And what I cringe about most is any time I have
uh,
to deal with anything human. It's, yeah, it is. Because it's so slow, so stripped down, so a lot of things, and so inverted, all the stuff that we all know. So when you come to mission stuff, and I ask myself the same question, because sitting here in this pretty human suit is just me, and I'm sitting in a linear timeline on planet Earth. There are only so many hours in the day for my human self to do something. Only one set of vocal cords to say something in one stream of voice that's so limited, stripped down, primitive. Arr. Mission stuff, there's the galactic element. There's also the tools for humans to empower themselves. There is all that. Been developing a whole bunch of those, and
so
coming
like,
up and
yeah,
uncovering a whole bunch of things on the how-tos, why things are the way they are, and also a lot of the control programs
yeah.
that we all carry. There's our inner work, but there's control program, limitation programs, the same one. It all runs on energies, frequencies, vibrations, and patterns, no matter where
Mm,
you are. And what
that's
I
right.
recently got the insight on, the galactics are affected too. Many of them are souls without bodies at the present moment.
How does that work? Is that how does that work? Because Franco talks about the human aspect and the
Hmm.
soul as being
Yeah.
separate, right?
Hmm.
So how does that work? A galactic being wouldn't have a soul, or a vessel wouldn't have a soul. Isn't everything soul? No.
Everything is soul. You flipped it and you got it inverted or flipped around, Todd. Unless I didn't quite understand.
I
Soul.
I did flip around. I'm sorry, but it's so.
No
I
problem. No
guess because I
worries.
kind of answered my own question, but I'm just saying.
We are soul.
So let's just say there's a God substance or goddess
Mhm.
substance, and then there's soul. To me, they're one and the same. Are they?
We are. Well, it is in the arrangement. That's a short and sweet answer. It's in the arrangement.
Okay.
Energies,
So
frequencies, vibrations, sentience. That is the concept of replicating up and down the stack in local form.
yeah.
And when you talk about, to make it real simple, communicate for many who might be listening to this, who are just getting their arms around this, um, everything is like a geometric figure, a frequency, a pattern. Everything is made out of source. Carl Sagan said this wonderfully decades ago. We're made out of star stuff. When we
Mm-hmm.
talk about star stuff, it isn't just the physical atoms of this, that, or the other that make us or that exists in our environment. It is also the energetics. It's ultimately about energies, frequencies, vibrations, patterns. It's in the
Would
arrangements.
would you
The
would you
rhythmic.
would you say that we, because again, say you got
Mhm.
the whole God substance, which is in all
Yeah.
things, and then you've got the soul. Would
Mhm.
you say that we are then essentially energetic patterns, wavelengths, vibrations, and frequencies? I mean, essentially,
Absolutely.
right? That, like, if you
Each
were
one.
breaking down the God particle, it would be that multi dimensional, multifaceted type of thing that you're describing that the energetics are, right?
Yeah. To explain it from, call it from the back end, for you who probably know or have connected to it, but others may or may not. Ultimately, everything, the entire universe, multiverse structure, and human language is very inadequate to describe this. Source was, call it a beautiful blob of light to describe it in some human form that's relatable. It's a sentience, it's a consciousness. But whatever they were doing before, they got kind of bored. And they were eager to learn, hungry for new, for experience. They had gone as far as they could as that sentience that they were, and they were not done. They could go away or they could create something more to keep them and themselves going. So the sentience as a collective, the pure collective, decided to take a piece of itself, of its energies, and carve out a region, create anew a region of space, and created a whole stack of universes, intentionally more than one, to provide offers to learn and to experience, to grow and to expand. They were supposed to be air gapped, but then later on, leaping ahead a little bit, some enterprising souls found ways to breach those gaps. And then the decision was, well, it's about learning experience anyway, so let's see where this goes. And so we had a
We're
mess that
you
came
bought
to
the ticket,
be.
take the ride.
Yeah, let's see
God
where this
said,
leads.
Mother Universe came in and said, "No, you bought the ticket. You're taking the
Well,
ride."
another universe decided, yeah, that may be fun. So not all
Well,
agreed, so to say. It wasn't all 100% in agreement, but that's with what ended up happening.
yeah.
So what then happened at that level? Those little spaces were created. So we have this physical universe. We have what we call the Borg universe. You have a whole bunch of others. So now, I've figured out a couple of them, but I feel there are others too. There are about 8, and there might be
I was
more.
going to ask you. I've seen, and I can't. It's been a while, but I've seen. I want to say when I was doing a lot of research 2, 3 years ago in that on that subject, I remember seeing 2 or 3 credible videos, and the narrative said there was like 7 or 8 universes, right?
And that is all that I'm speaking of is what
And-
comes from within and what I know,
Okay,
what I fly
okay.
up to the big library. I actually do very
I
little
think you're the.
reading.
I think you're actually the librarian.
I
To be
might
honest
be.
with you,
I might
yeah.
be. But that cosmic library is open to anyone. I'm just a frequent library card user
Mm.
because I've always been the intellectual type. And
I'll say.
that's always been me.
I
And
think your dad was Yoda.
actually, somebody was talking about it on the show. It might have been with Pamela Johnson. It might have been with, what was her name? Um, the lady from ACERN, the Australian one, who wrote the book New Humans. I forgot her name. The name
Oh,
escapes me.
Mary Rodwell.
Mary Rodwell. It was on one of those two shows, and it was on that day when we were talking about story time, or it might have been on another show, story time. My favorite thing as a kid was story time, and I remember myself being this little tiny little thingy dingy, and I was keeping up with a very intellectual father, and
Uh-huh.
we were talking about astronomy, physics, anything and all. And here I was, this little kid who may not even have been to first grade yet, just talking about that stuff. Stuff happened, shut down, a lot of other things, I don't know, but the one thing, and then one day he just stopped. And that was the saddest part.
He stopped.
He stopped.
Wow, that's yeah. I
And
mean, it
it is
sounds like.
sad.
I mean,
And
just feeling the energy of it. I just picture like this. This. I love the energetics. When I said, "Does it break it down to that?" and you said yes, but I see this energetic entity like a Tesla, like that type of. Because I mean, those people struggle. Don't they? I mean, those people that are at
well,
that level,
we
which I
all
would
do.
say, yeah.
And then I was thrown in, and then other things happened. Some were lessons, some were a lot of different things.
So
Uh,
I'm just
and
curious. I'm just gonna. Do you mind if I throw a few questions?
oh
Uh,
no, go ahead.
just to, yeah, because I mean this is really cool. Uh, so have you had any type of memory of like encounters dimensionally or interdimensionally or otherwise with ET or anything that just kind of stands out?
Not in the physical, but I'm always flying.
Yeah.
And there was this one that I shared with you, which out of nowhere blurted this thing out. And they have come back recently,
Oh, really?
not just for myself. There was something that took place. They are around, and I'm not the only one who's feeling them. They're here.
Yeah.
They're here, and it's needed and it's necessary. And, you know, not called to share out on this. This
Yeah, I
proof
wouldn't.
that,
Yeah, yeah. Don't do anything. I mean,
yeah, no, there's certain things.
the,
There's my personal, then there's the broader,
yeah.
and some things are just meant for
Well, you
me.
carry the energy and you explain everything very articulately, so you don't have anything to worry about because you're not withholding anything from us because energetically we're getting it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, or mention to you, if you can relate to this. So, all that stuff we feel out here. There was like a period where I think for a lot of us it was very external. Like that's not us. That's something. What is it? And then there started to be the embodiments started happening, and people have had different experiences, walk-ins. I had a couple things literally walk into me, and whatever, however it happens. And then it was kind of like you're laying in bed going, okay, well, who am I praying to? Because it's all me, right? But recently, and I'm going to say in the last since December, it feels like there's an energy there, and it'd be no different than me walking in a room, right? Like when we were in Sedona and we had the gathering. Like it would be like that. Like I know that we're one, but you're there and I'm here. And the energy feels a little bit different these last 2 or 3 months to me. Do you feel that? Do you
The
are you
energies are very different, are very shifting, very much shifting. A lot of things are happening. Uh, yesterday you were speaking of it, others have noticed it too. Their energies are coming in from different places.
hmm,
Some are natural, some are external. That's a long, long discussion, but to summarize, to answer the question is you're asking it. Every day there are new energies and it is a new flux. Some from within, some from without. Some enable, some stop. Some are meant to enable that then bring about other things which we then feel. And they are on their way out or need to leave. There are also actors out there who do not want certain things to occur and work counter to it. Some, they are known, we know them, they don't hide, they're seen. Others work through humans. We're just like humans putting collective light and beauty into the field. There are others who are doing the opposite, that are neutralizing wherever there are points of light, they're neutralizing other things. There's a lot of puppeteering going on through human, where the human may not even have a clue. There's
hmm,
puppeteering. There's also phenomenon that I have experienced many times, where things are going in a certain flow, and then something flows in. It's an opportunist, and then it triggers something, and then the human blurts out something that's horribly destructive, shattering, or whatever, that whatever triggered that was an external opportunistic, took over that human for an infinitesimal split second. Human doesn't even know. There's also behind a filter that's left, or a veneer of some kind, where the human cannot connect the absurdity that that human just spoke, that is so not even related to what that who that human is in a much larger context over time. And then the humans are left to pick up the
And
pieces
there's
and
the there's the
the
projection.
destruction
Yeah,
cost.
yeah, I'm
And
sorry.
that is not only in the physical human, in the relationship amongst humans, but in the entire energetic field. Those are powerful. Call them whatever we want. They occur. There are attacks that happen. What is light is dark is light, opportunistic opportunism, vulnerabilities, access points, affinities from who knows where, and the galactics are equally affected. The galactics, I would say, this is very important. There's an assumption not only about here down on Earth, but about the galactics, that they have cleaned up all their act, have done all their inner work, transcended all they have transcended. See, the Sirians, the Pleiadians, the Andromedas, everybody under the sun has had their own eras, their own times, had their own politics, and all that. The fact that they have transcended, ascended, if you want to call it, left that behind and reached their 0 point as a collective is great. But those things did occur. And even today, they do not see eye to eye on everything. There are differences, that's to use good and bad as a construct. We all know the level playing field, all that, none is good and bad. But anyway, and the lower D's, and that's, I'll get to that, because that's very important to explain to everybody. There are various interests within those souls without bodies sitting up there in the higher realms, on the ships, on other worlds connected to us, the souls out there, the teams. It is not like they are dark or doing wrong. There's inner work that hasn't been done. There's the assumption among us, there's the assumption amongst them, that they have done the inner work, that everything is all good and copacetic. There are plenty of cases where there is not. There are plenty of cases where, just like here, we have done our inner work, and yet that's called affinity access points, vulnerabilities. We can call it old triggers, where things happen, they get loose, you can't blame the person or whoever when something occurs, because it does. Recognizing that this occurs. They are also very stuck in a rigidity, of the
Who's
same
that?
rigidity that affects us here, but it is time that they recognize they are equally trapped in these control programs that precede them. Instead
Is
of
it?
using judgment, or it doesn't exist, or it's not me, it can't. And I want to say something, but there are a couple of very huge points I want to make that
Uh,
apply.
um,
Uh,
are the controlling aspects, the programming, isn't that, or is that the isn't that the nature, or the construction of this duality that we're in?
Duality
You know
and
what I'm
control
saying?
program.
But you get what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, are these things that we need to fear, or how do you engage them? You know what I mean? I mean, is this the construction of the duality, like the mathematics, the physics?
Duality, I'm thinking which is the best way to approach it to explain, and this is about the structure of it and what has happened to the structure and the various perceptions and thing. So maybe go back to where I was.
Okay.
The universe created the sentient, and I'll just keep it to this universe. And this was a universe of polarity. But what also happened, because they were, call it bored, they leaped in here, and what were they attract? This was universe was designed to hold light and dark. Call it black and white as opposites. Call it colors as a universe as an opportunity to create and experience and be a design structure. So in they leap, and what sparkles the most? The most opposite from where you are. No qualifiers, qualifications. The most opposite from where you are. If you are white, not in, as a color, as an essence. What's the most extreme opposite? A dark. If you're darkest dark, light, sparkly is the most opposite. It is the sparkliest thing out there that you reach, because it is the highest offer opportunity for something different that you don't know or you don't have. So that's how polarity was fueled in the first place, because these sentiences, when they decided to sort of also split off a little bit into fractals to allow for greater experience, light little different in the frequency
You
spin.
said ascensionist. Was it like a group of people that developed a program?
Sentience? No. This is not program. This is back to original source, creation of
I
the
got you.
universe, multiverses. I hop back to that. I do tend to hop around and
It's
sort
okay.
of move things in the middle, but so they leaped into, and let's just stick to this universe. This is the polarity universe where they're opposites. So the way from light the dark got fueled was because it is the most opposite from what was known. And so, of course, everybody was attracted. Not everybody, but a lot of them were attracted to that. There were also so that's how light and dark, how it got fueled, energized. Its gas tank was filled in the first place. And that's how also polarity into the darkness gained the higher level of density. It was, call it, by some form of artifact of design construction. So anyway, then all these worlds emerged, species emerged, all these galactic wars happened, emotion got introduced in there too. I'm sort of leaping
Oh, that
about
was
a whole
good. Keep
bunch of
going.
things. It's kind of,
You're rapping.
cent-
Keep going. Keep going.
centering into something. So then, of course, souls leaped
Right.
into this universe
Okay.
to learn to experience, but not
Okay.
everybody.
Okay. Hang on one second. I want to just make sure I understand this. So
Okay.
I'm just describing this like in metaphoric terms. Okay. I
Yeah,
just want
yeah,
to get. So basically, this part of the universe was kind of birthed and created, right?
yeah.
And so you're like just say it's like a globe or an egg or whatever. And then you said souls then jumped in. So at that point there was no soul, there were no souls in this space. And then
Souls,
we're on the outside looking in and say, hey, let's go dive in here. Something like that.
because we are all God, we are all source. And when we strip away that part that we have assigned it to an ego, ooh, I am God, and all the people who say they're Jesus or reincarnated from Jesus, that's all nonsense and ego. When you talk about it as in we're star stuff, we're essence, we're energy, we're sentience. It's in the arrangement. So from that perspective, we're love, we're source energy, which is a better way to explain it for right now, for everybody here. We're source energy. So from the grand thing, we took a piece and dropped it into this creation called the universe. We sentience pieces leaped in. We're all one. We're all love, we're all light, we're all the same. We all come from the same place, we all return to the same place. We have arranged things, pieces of our energies, our frequencies, our vibrations, to have experiences, to create opportunities for learning and experience. So that's where, to go something that we're all working on now and attempting to get across to the majority. When we speak about the 0 point, the right, the wrong, the light, the dark, the better, the worse, as all being equals, the same for emotions. When we look at them, let's say on a table on a flat surface. We look at them all as equals. We observe them from an observer perspective, taking ourselves outside, just outside this, and observing, what am I looking at here? Then we can see the darkest dark and the lightest light are all just aspects, designs. It's what's in the arrangement. An emotion of anger, an emotion of joy. They're emotions in the human, period. They're not more legitimate or less legitimate. When somebody talks about its frequency, its vibration, call it the design. It is no different than saying what's more legitimate, a triangle, a square, a circle.
You're talking about with emotions, looking at it the same way.
Emotions and everything else.
So you've been in South Dakota for 7 months in lockdown conditions and snow.
No, they never closed here.
Oh, they weren't. Okay. So, but I
South
mean, you've been.
Dakota was the only state
Really?
that never required a certain
I wonder if it
object.
had anything to do with your presence there. Maybe that's what you're.
The governor was there before.
So this has been a really like, the whole ascension timeline. The last few months are always the most powerful transformational months you've lived, but this has been extraordinary because everything's just climbing exponentially. So like you were talking about the 0 point and giving us that image and relaying to us, what it is. How do you? I'm sure that in 7 months you did a lot of work on yourself.
Yes.
What kind of 0 pointing do you do? What kind of shadow work? What do you do on a personal level? What works for you?
Well, there was a time and on occasions, and that is a good idea for everybody, where we reach out to somebody to work with us on something or another. There's also that piece which we do within. It is about both. So when I first awoke, reawoke, whatever, and a couple of years after that, I worked with somebody who helped me hugely. I also began connecting. I also began bringing in processes, taking processes beyond the original design and then connecting some of these dots, like replication of the stack in local form, other concepts that are for some mystery reason still not understood, the concept of what it is for me, the concept of the seesaw, and countless others. Oh, the connection that once we're done with our own stuff, we can do the same for the genetic line, and that then there's a soul stream and whatever else there is. And it is about energetic patterns, and it is about hooking together the patterns and not where they come from or get trapped in that. And so when we look at them as patterns of similars, you daisy chain link them together and you can clear them out. That's how you can do, let's say, 30 years of work in 3 days, 3 months. So I've been doing a lot of that, and that never stops. You also continue digging, and you also connect. When you release certain things, then you rise. The other thing that I have been doing is a combination of the inner work. It's also a combination of way beyond me, because I don't know if it is like that for everybody. I know for sure it is for some. I run things through me. There are patterns, like when something, this is on the personal side, it may be like this for others too. So I'll relate to personal experience. When I react with huge virulence towards something, or I have a very difficult time stepping out of it, then I'm not reacting to some inner work undone. I am reacting to some collective pattern, to some construct, to something out there but because we're all connected when it comes to affinities, to connection to energetics. You feel it through you, through the individual. You have the skills, you have the frequencies, you have the wherewithal. You clear it for yourself, you clear it for the collective across space, time, all aspects. And some things are also brought up to be seen. You bring them up in the larger collective field, and then they can be cleared. And you call in, of course, the teams and everybody else to help out. But it is way more than just about you because it is linked. This may be a part of mission. I don't know if this is like this for everybody, if this is something that the rest of the 7.8 billion humans on the planet will connect to at some point or another, or if this relates to some mission stuff that some of us have that connection or are tasked to. I really don't know, but I know what it is for me, and I do feel that. So a
It
lot of this inner work, I ask myself, and this is something that I would recommend that all of you ask yourselves. To ask yourself the question, is it mine or isn't it? If it is yours, okay, you got some work to do.
Yeah.
If it no longer relates to who you are or you left that behind long ago, it most likely isn't you.
Yeah.
There might still be an affinity, an access point.
Yeah.
Then you're doing a collective thing. You can tweak, and when you tweak whatever it is in you, you tweak it for a collective. Leave away the judgments, set it aside. Observer is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And something else is very, very, very huge for everybody to comprehend. A couple of them. Nothing is a single thing. Everything is many things. At the earth plane level and at the multidimensional level, on all the Ds, it definitely is that. So when we start connecting, it is about all that. But to get closer to the earth plane is some tools, suggestions on how to navigate life better for everybody out here who's been at this for a little while and who's just beginning. The construct under which we've lived isn't just the 3D or the inverted 2D or inverted 3D. There's also a 1D. I had seen it in the past as a future potential, but in fact I've come to realize very recently it is actually alive and well. It manifests in everything. It is hidden in plain sight. The single definition, the single interpretation, the single possibility, the only. We see it, we speak it. A single definition on what thinking is. Where things like this get everybody into trouble. We keep hearing in our community, in every community, get out of your head, stop thinking, think less. That is founded on a single possibility of what thinking and thought is. That's the closest thing you can say, is that's the rumination. The tail chasing, the paralysis of not knowing which way to go. On that, why are you paralyzed and frozen? But rumination and thinking is one single. There is common sense. There's critical thinking. There is using one's brain to decide, what do I want for myself? Where do I want to go next? What do I believe about that? Just a few possibilities into which thinking comes into play. There's not enough thinking on the planet. That's why the state of the planet, the sheeplehood, the looking to the outside, for some handout, some savior, for somebody to lead one to believe, tell them what's good for them, and in the name of some external something else. There is a lot of talk about it is what it is. That applies to the weather out there. The weather out there is whatever it is for you at this moment when you're listening to this. And it is what it is where human has a hand. It's a control structure of limitation, of judgment. It isn't what it is. Anyone buying into that on no matter what it is or as a broader aspect of self or the whole self. That kind of it is what it is with human hand simply says quit. Don't try, don't bother. There's nothing you can do about it. Not worth stressing about it. Accept that it is what it is. Resign yourself, resign your hopelessness, your helplessness. There's nothing you can do. It just is what it is. And it just is. The other one they tell you, drop into your heart. But that drop into your heart feeling is not the real feeling. It's an artificialization of feeling because it is burdened and bounded by limitations, with right and wrongs and judgments, and intensities and volumes and duration. Anger, grief, how long? Too angry, too this, too that. How about just feeling how you feel when you feel? Unlimited, unvarnished, completely, whatever it is for you. Too much of that intensity is simply about volume. It's not about the feeling or the emotion itself. It's like the music on your radio. The music is still the same whether it is tuned at level 1 that you hardly hear or 10 that blows your ears out. It's about the intensity and the volume, not about the emotion and the feeling. True feeling is in true heart is from within. The way all of you can distinguish between the feeling that is externally driven and bound and limited by some outside criteria is to do this. You feel yourself as you do. It is a feedback loop into your heart. You feel that, and then you will connect to what feeling truly is. And then you go out there, you work on that, and you truly feel, and you think, and you decide what you want. And then you go from there.
I'm going to write down a bunch of questions for you.
Go ahead.
Um, I was going to ask you one a second ago. Well, one comment I wanted to make on that. Thank you for that dissertation on the history of the universe, and somebody put feeling the new communication and a Toothman. Thank you. Uh, so there's probably been at least a handful of times. You know, I used to read a lot, and I know I've read this. It wasn't like something I downloaded, but basically, and I don't know if it's philosophy, you know, history, whatever, but essentially the way it ends the story of, you know, of our species, of the earth, whatever, is that when we get to a point where we understand the connectivity and how we affect everything, like you explained, is kind of how, I don't know how to describe it, and can't recall even who wrote some of this that I read, but yeah, that's like, maybe that's when we transcend, you know, this space, this, I don't know, or expand from this limitation. I don't know, but yeah, that was great. I
Thank
enjoyed that. Yeah, I had another question earlier, but I couldn't stop you. You're on a roll. We just need to wind you up and let you go. But
you. Yes,
it'd
you
be cool
know,
to have you know, because your perspective is very cool. It's similar to like Franco's, or even talking to Richard Melchizedek today, you know, where they have some of that stuff going on, and like Richard's active in these planetary reconstructions and deconstructions on the grid. Really high level stuff, you know, but to be able to talk about it without a charge, and then to be able to say to you as well, like, what do you do, you know, when you get triggered, or what do you do to zero point or whatever, and like the way you talked about it, I don't even remember what you said, but I can tell how deep you know it, right?
ready.
And you know what I mean? I'm just saying, in terms of like, I'm not saying that we master anything. I certainly don't feel like that. I think we were mastering things, but in regardless if you want to praise somebody or rate somebody, you know, when somebody's talking about something, and they know it, like they've been there, like they're not embellishing. They like, you can just tell from the intensity, or I don't know if that's the right word, of their projected energy.
You know, it's about, well, we can call it the passion to do it, but it's very important to know what you're doing. You have to run it through you. If you don't experience it,
Mm,
you're at most having a second, third hand thing. The difference between being in a place, touching something, and reading about it or watching a video on that same place. On mastery, as you just mentioned,
hmm
the way I see it, every single one of us, a master, an apprentice, a teacher, a student, all wrapped into one,
yeah,
always
a
and
genius and
always.
an idiot. Don't forget that one.
What?
A genius and an idiot.
Yes.
I'll take
And you
that
know,
one.
Todd,
Um,
Todd, something else, this is incredibly important,
mhm,
especially for the young kids.
yeah.
And for us adults too, every single one is great at something and not good at all at something else.
Mhm.
It is our uniqueness. We can learn, seek out someone to teach us, to show us, whatever our learning style is.
Mhm.
We can choose to learn to do it ourselves, or we can choose to just let somebody else do it, and that depends on the circumstance and best use of that person's time, energies, and efforts, etc. But there is too much judgment placed. You should know this.
Mhm.
And that just creates more emotion, anger, resentment, separation.
Oh, you're trying to
If we
fix something.
accept each other as we are,
Yeah.
warts and all. And to use the example of Einstein, he was great at relativity, but he had no clue how to tie a shoelace. Yes, there are always options: loafers, slippers, other kinds of shoes. But does it really matter? So if he wants to learn how to tie a shoelace, it might take him 5 times as long as it does a 2-year-old. So what if he wants to learn to do it?
It's like you said, it's all in the arrangement, right?
It's in the arrangement.
So that's
And
such a
he,
powerful statement, because you think of like a contract. People talk about soul contracts, but when you say the arrangement, it brings in that energetic field that you're talking about, with the vibrations, the wavelengths, the frequencies, right?
yes, and if you look at it as an arrangement, how can you then put judgment on it as a greater or lesser?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's also the exit strategy of how to release that. And another one that keeps humans trapped is everybody looks behind. Burdens, trapped, all these bags you're driving along on something you did in the past. The way of looking at it, the past is in the past, 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 years ago. It's now forward. And what are you going to do with that moment? Every moment an opportunity for a next. What you do with that next is up to you. It has not been created yet. You're the creator creating it. At most, look back without judgment at all. See that. What did I like? What did I dislike? What did it show me? What do I want to change about it? Or if there's something you really liked, nurture it. I want to do this again. So you learn it, you perfect it, you nurture it, you grow it like this beautiful plant that blossoms into this magnificent plant bush or tree or garden. That is what the past is good for. It's in the books. There's nothing you can do about it on the linear timeline or any other. The future is not created. It's not all written and predetermined, because otherwise it would be boring. Then what would be the point?
Hmm.
When people see, oh, it's already been decided, created, what they're doing is perhaps stepping outside of time and looking at something. But that's not the actual living it, the embodiment of it, the being it. Because otherwise, if the goal was just to do that, then we would not have chosen to come in here. in any way, shape, or form, whatever, in any way, shape, or form, at any moment, to experience, to live it, no matter whatever that is. It is both, it is all. It's the magnificence of the universe, it is quantum. It's fun, it's confusing, it's miserable sometimes. But when we start observing and observing ourselves, and also comprehending that we are seeing it side by side. One thing that always, you asked me a little earlier, what do you do on zero point, etc. I don't have a formal process per se, but something that helped me, even when I was in the tiniest tiny and all the way through my entire life before I truly or connected or reconnected to any of this. I always trusted my trusty observer. Observer, not a she, not a he. No emotion of, don't even want to call it an it. It's of just observer. Because observer, and I would see me and I would see observer perspective side by side. And so whenever I went off the deep end of whatever, I would always be able to see this observer in the frame of reference and see myself and come back to center. That is what, at my personal level, has kept me on the, call it the straight and narrow. Never drugs, never alcohol, never those addictions, never done
Do
many
you
of
eat
those things that
chocolate?
other people do, because I always had observer to rein me back in.
Yeah,
We all are born with observer. We all are observer. We trust our observer self. An observer will always have our best interest in mind, without judgment, without any baggages and burdens. And you observe it, and then you rein yourself back in.
it's very well
From
explained.
there.
Thank you. That was very well explained.
Thank you.
And also, and I know I'm right about this, but also like that, because you said even long ago you used this process, and without even knowing your history, I mean, that again, you can tell that comes from the depths of polarity, right? I mean, you can tell you've been there. So very cool, very cool. We're gonna see you in Sedona,
Yes,
Sedona, Arizona, May 28th through 31st.
absolutely. Looking
Tickets
forward
go
to
on
it a lot.
sale at midnight
I
tonight,
know, I heard.
and there's an early bird ticket. It's gonna be pretty cool. I mean, probably get on this weekend and get on. Michael Mejia wants to get on,
Awesome.
and he's talked to him in Israel a couple days ago for about 2 hours. They're doing they're doing good. They're doing the work.
I'm I'm
They're
glad they're doing I'm glad they're doing
that
better.
family
It's
is
been tough for
incredible.
him.
They're incredible. And so he mentioned that. So and I think talked to a couple of the others as about it as well. Had approached me about it. So we'll be talking about it more. There'll be more added to the website, which will be posted tonight. People have already been going
Awesome.
there. I don't know how they got it, but anyway,
Congratulations, Todd,
uh,
on finally getting it done and
well,
getting it, your dream coming true. It'll be super awesome, and I truly hope this will be the beginning of many collaborations in many forms,
yeah,
because this whole part of, we have to do our own stuff,
yeah,
absolutely. But it also bringing it together is what you create, the most magnificent creation that no individual piece or individual can create on their own.
that's
It
right.
is about both. It is
Yeah,
about all of it.
it really is. And thank you for saying that. And it's interesting. I obviously, I love what you said earlier about timelines and time. So on my timeline, Soulogy came in 10 years ago, 9.5 years ago, whatever. And, but in like, let's see, would have been a few years before that, when Morgan was doing her stuff, she evidently put out the call and she said, I would love to create a place where everyone comes together, exactly what you're talking about. and then it happens. The story goes from the etherical and the linear, the fusion of the physical, non-physical, and but yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of that, people coming together. I've been saying this for about 3 or 4 weeks just because of some personal experiences, and that it's in the people coming together and the intention that they're coming in there with, and then that's doesn't even matter about shadow, doesn't matter about unconscious programming so much. It's there, but the fact that they're coming together with the intention of the heart, like we did in Sedona when we had that meetup, something happens that's beyond conversations and it's beyond anything else. It's those wavelengths, vibrations, frequencies, and patterns you were talking about. That's what it is.
And accepting each other as who we are and how we are on a certain day and on a certain moment,
Yeah.
without judgment, without
Yes.
assuming. You see a little snippet of somebody at some moment and assume that that's the person. It
Yeah.
isn't. We
Yeah.
all have our wonderful moments and our miserable moments. It's part of our journey about our lives, about being. It's about accepting, it's about allowing each other, and also about being who we are. To use an unpopular term, it is time to unmask everything
Mhm.
and just be who we are. Seen, heard, warts and all, rough edges that cut and scratch, and beautiful, shiny, beautiful edges that shine and sparkle. When we go out there being who we are, as we are in that moment, where are we coming from? What is our intent? What is our intention? And just be those magnificent, unique individuals, different from any other that we are. And instead of looking at one another and seeing difference or separation as difference or anything like that is horrible and miserable, you see it as an opportunity to create. You see it as a beauty. What beautiful opportunity those differences offer to be, to create, to experience, no matter what they are. The most beautiful and joyful and the most undesired and ugly ones. We bring them together, we build, we create, we see what we have seen so far as a negative for eons and eons, and we begin seeing it as a positive. What can it show us, teach us, experience us? And we band together and we just create an entirely new man
Hmm.
in so many ways. And we can
Far,
completely,
far
yes,
freaking out. Auriana night. What a great way to end the day. We had one that didn't show, but he had a perfect reason. Uh, Prayers to him. I forget his name. Um Ethan, I believe. I hadn't met him, but he's evidently been battling like stage 4 cancer, and he's wants to come on, and he's
yeah,
kicking ass. I mean, he's
good.
so
You
hopefully
know,
we'll get him back on. And Richard was great. Martin was great. You were great.
thank you.
We'll be back tomorrow. Probably won't have a remix tonight. Got a couple of meetings I got to go to, and let's all keep the ball rolling. Let's all go easy on ourselves and go easy on each other because we're all going through the same thing.
We are. And Todd, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy, an honor, a pleasure, and it's been a lot of fun. It's
Yeah,
been a lot of fun and onward and upward, and let's create our new world, create a new world, and all that. And so thrilled for you on Soulogy Fest. It's so happy that it finally comes into the material world and materializes
yeah.
in your
It should
life,
be
in
very.
your heart. It's
Thank
been
you.
heartfelt for
Thank
you.
you. And thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you later. Peace out. Love you.